CBSE Board, Class 11, History, Chapter 1, Part 4, Audio by Renee Matthew. It was a long story, repeatedly again and again in every slide we have to know that it is a great evolution which took place, and we saw about hominids, hominoids, Homo and also Australopithecus. How was the hominoids different from the others? That is the first form, hominoids. They had long forelimbs, curved hand, foot bones, mobile angle, which was really flexible. It was not so flexible when it came to the hominids or the other versions or species of the human forms. Hominoids were really flexible. We saw that in the first slide also, because their life was mostly on the trees. They were adapted to always climb on the trees and even walk on the branches like the panther or the leopard. Okay. And over time, as the evolution took place, as the style of movement in the way in which they lived, as all these things changed, tool making, long distance walking, everything just increased, and human characteristics also developed. So when they started using it for different purposes, as you can see here, the characteristics also developed and changed. There is a beautiful story about the discovery of Australopithecus olduvai, George. It is a kind of source box which is given in your textbook about a butterfly collector, Mary and Louis Leakey, and it is a story of a symbol discovery, and was not easy to understand what they really dug up. Okay. Especially the butterfly. So please read about it. Now, the remains of early humans have been classified. How did the archaeologists really understand the evolution or the characteristics of a particular fossil or a human being? It was through the bone structure, skull size, and distinctive jaws. So by studying all these things in detail, they were able to understand the differences and the similarities between the species. And the illustration is given on page 10. So have this particular page in front of you when this point is explained. That is bone structure, skull size, and distinctive jaws. And these characters have evolved because of the positive feedback mechanism. What is positive feedback mechanism? Now, before we go to positive feedback mechanism, you need to understand the evolution of the skull. The Australopithecus, how it looked after that. See, look at the size, look at the shape of this particular part of the skull. Here it is shorter and the jaw is a little more protruding. And here the jaw has become smaller and the brain size is bigger. And here also there is a bigger development. Look at the hollow eyes, the jawline and everything. It's more cut. And this is Homo sapien, that is the present group. So Hominidae was the group to which Australopithecus and Homo belonged, and similarly we human beings belong to this particular group known as Homo sapiens. That is what you have to understand about the evolution of the skull. Did you understand? And before this particular group we have got the Neanderthalensis, Neanderthalates. Okay, so this is a particular group which is very important before the Homo sapiens. Now, there is an example which is given here. Bipedalism, that is walking on the limbs alone. That is what is the meaning of bipedalism. That is a form of terrestrial locomotion where an organism moves by means of its two rear limbs or legs. That is the back part. That is we are bipedals because we are using our legs to walk. Okay. The rear limbs, that is the back, at the back. The forelimbs is the one that you have in the front. An animal or machine that usually moves in a bipedal manner, double and PES for foot. So double foot is the translation, the English translation for bipedalism or bipedal movement. Now bipedalism enabled hands to be freed for carrying infants or objects. So when they started walking on two legs or the rear limbs as we see here, that is double foot, it was easier for the apes or the early forms of human beings to carry objects, infants, in their hands. Otherwise, they used to always use the four limbs and it was very difficult to carry objects. And as a result of that, when they started walking on their rear limbs, they started using hands more and more frequently. So the hands also developed from the precisive grip to the power grip and all that. We saw that in the previous slide. An upright posture was also there. It was becoming more efficient. So you can see that as the evolution took place, efficiency was also growing. Did you understand? Apart from the advantage of the freeing hand, so that is the first advantage of being bipedal. That is, your hands evolve, your hands become efficient. And then apart from that, less energy was consumed for walking as compared to the movement of a quadruped. When you're four-limbed, animals will always consume more energy for walking because they are using all the four limbs. But here it is bipedal where energy is less. Now, the advantage in terms of saving energy is reversed while running, because when you run, animals, when they run on four limbs, the energy is actually less. When we run, the energy is more. Okay, reversed means, did you understand the meaning? When it is a bipedal human being, the energy used for running is more, but for walking is less. And it is reversed or inversely reversed when they are quadruped. Quadruped is walking on four limbs. Understand all these terms. If you're not familiar with it, write it on a piece of paper. Quadruped, bipedal. Then, there is indirect evidence of bipedalism as early as 3.6 millions of years ago. We don't know whether they really shifted to the phase of bipedalism by 3.6 millions of years ago. And this comes from the fossilized hominid footprints. So can you see the footprints here? It is so from the footprints that we can understand that only two is seen here and not four. So the scholars or the historians understood that footprints showed that hominids used to be bipedal. And these kind of footprints were seen in which places? It was seen in Laetoli, Tanzania. Fossil limb bones recovered from Hadar, Ethiopia, provide more direct evidence of bipedalism. Okay, so all these kind of findings which is there in different parts of the world also can be used as points in your essay writing. Then positive feedback mechanism. Can you see this diagram in your textbook also? The arrows pointing towards a box. Okay, this particular arrow, it indicates the influences that shaped that particular development. So it is an output. It is reversed also. For example, increase in size and capacity of brain led to this. And this also led to the increase in capacity and size of brain. It is a kind of cyclic, it is a vicious cycle, you can say. Because of this, this happened. And because of this, development of this also took place. Did you understand? So each thing you can see like that. And because of this factor, upright walking took place. And because of upright walking, this long distance walking, foraging, hunting, everything took place. So it is reverse reaction, which is positive feedback mechanism. Please study this diagram so you can write a lot. When you study diagrams, it is easier for you to write a lot, developing these points into a big essay or long answer. Around 2.5 millions of years ago, with the onset of a phase of glaciation, that is ice age. It is not the cartoon that we have. Okay, ice age is different. It was like the Stone Age or the other forms of Iron Age and all that. We had something known as glaciation or ice age. When, what is it exactly? Large parts of the earth were covered with snow, and there were a lot of changes in climate and vegetation when this happened. Because some of the plants or some of the animals will not thrive when earth is covered with snow. And because of the reduction in temperature, that is when it was really cold, as well as rainfall, grassland areas expanded at the expense of forest. So more grassland areas came up instead of the forest, and forest was reducing. It was more of grassland. Did you understand? And that led to the gradual extinction of Australopithecus. Our Australopithecus started getting extinct because they were more adapted to forest. Do you remember that they evolved from hominids, which was four-limbed? So they started getting extinct. And the replacement by species that were better adapted to the drier conditions. So there were a group of species that were more adapted to the drier conditions. And some of the earliest representatives of the genus Homo. Okay, so from there we have Homo. So you can understand that Homo is the advanced version of Australopithecus, even though they come in the same boat. They are an evolution, or they come in the category hominids. Now, what is the meaning of the word Homo? It is a Latin word meaning man. Although they were women as well, the Latin meaning is man, mankind. Scientists distinguish amongst several types of Homo. The name, so Homo itself has got lot of categories. It is not like Australopithecus. Lot of categories are there for Homo. The names assigned to these species are derived from what are regarded as their typical characteristics. So it is because of their characteristics that they named these kind of species, not for anything else. The names came from their characteristics. Fossils are classified into all these forms. Can you see the way the fossils are classified? Habili. The meaning of the word habili is tool maker. Homo erectus. Just now we saw that Homo has got a lot of classification. So now we are going to see at the classification of the fossils. Okay. Before we go on what is a fossil, we have to see the different classification of the fossil. Habili is a tool maker. Homo erectus is the upright man, erect. Homo sapiens, the wise or thinking man. That is what we belong to. We actually belong to the group called the Homo sapiens. Now, fossils of Homo habili, that is the tool maker, it is somewhat like this. It looks like this. Was discovered at Omo, Ethiopia, and at Olduvai Gorge in Tanzania. That was the earliest form of fossils. And the fossil of Homo erectus, that is the upright man, was found in Africa and Asia. Kubifora and West Turkana, Kenya, Mojokerto, Sangiran, Java. All these places we can see Homo erectus. Now, as the finds in Asia belong to a later date than those in Africa, because the earliest forms were found in Africa. Then we found in Asia. So first is Africa. They found in Africa first. It is likely that the hominids migrated from East Africa to Southern and Northern Africa. So first they migrated and maybe then they came to Asia. That is why you are able to find, or the scholars were able to find in Asia as well. So first they migrated to East Africa, Southern, North Africa, and then to South and Northeastern Asia. And then they came to Europe. So first Africa, then to Asia, and then to Europe. So you should understand that the forests were also declining in these places. Right? Forests were becoming drier and forest was giving more space to grasslands. And this took place sometime between 2 and 1.5 millions of years ago. And these species survived nearly 1 million years. So many years, for so many years these people or these species survived. It's not that suddenly they got extinct. So from Australopithecus we have got Homo, and Homo has got something interesting, and they survived for more number of years. So look at these pictures. This is similar to the tool maker, that is Habili, the upright man, okay, which was found in Africa, Asia. And look at the evolution of the spine and everything from here to here and here to here. So this particular species has got this kind of, the second picture, the species is like that. And then it evolved to the third one. So that is how these kind of changes took place. So these places are very important because you will be able to write answers relating the points to where it was found exactly. And the discovery places are really very important for you to develop your answers. And that will also help you to create a timeline of your own in sequence, which will help you to understand the chronological order in which these species were evolved.